Hello, and welcome to Totally Schway, a podcast about the DCAU and whatever the hell else I want it to be about. My name's Mary.
And my name's Luke. I was just going to say, Mary, that are we really going to make it whatever the hell else you want it to be about, considering you've now got a second podcast, Totally Schway Flipside, which is for whatever the hell else you want it to be about?
It's always about whatever the hell else I want it to be about.
That was a cheap plug for the sister podcast,
Yeah.
Totally Schway Flipside. If you've not listened to it already, what the hell's wrong with you? Go listen now.
If you want to, you can. I've decided to have something on my channel, mainly because I like this, and also it's to help me be able to get good at editing and stuff like that, so I can help Luke edit the podcast more and stuff like that. And maybe we can make the podcast a little bit better and bigger. By bigger, I don't mean it's going to be 2 hours.
No, we were told off one time we did a 2-hour podcast.
But,
I forget who it was. They were like, this podcast is too long. You need to make it shorter. So, all right, I'm sorry.
But yeah, if you guys want to head over to my channel, would you like to tell them what my channel name is?
It's youtube.com/@MarySusanMears. I mean, there'll be a link to it in the description. I'll have linked to the first 2 episodes of Flipside as well. First episode, we talked about Batman Cape Crusader, the new Batman cartoon, didn't we?
And the second episode was about the first episode of X-Men 97.
Not at all confusing. Episode 2 is about episode 1.
Luke saw my brain work in my eyes just then.
No, I saw one of the comments from a regular commenter who shall remain unnamed at this point, saying, "Hang on a minute, why are you talking about episode 2? Haven't you already done episode 2? I think perhaps we just didn't make it clear that we were going to be talking about episode 2 of X-Men 97 in our third episode.
That's my fault, probably.
Well, you never know. Might have been me. Might have been. Anyway.
All right. So do you have any news you would like to get to?
Yeah, there's one little piece of news today, and this is for people that play video games.
Ooh.
Yes, so.
I do that sometimes.
Yes, I know, and so do I. It's not been unheard of for me to play the odd video game every now and then. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the free-to-play fighting game Multiverses. It's, as I said, it's a sort of a bit like Smash Brothers, Super Smash Brothers on the Nintendo, but it's filled with Warner Brothers characters. It went into beta last year, and then it closed for several months, and it's opening up again on the 28th of May, so shortly after this episode goes live. And one of the characters that has been added for this new launch is Mark Hamill's Joker. And he will be able to fight against Kevin Conroy's Batman. And one of the things I like about that game is that you can buy, using in-game currency, you can buy Kevin Conroy as an announcer for the game. So he'll say things like, round 1, fight.
Work.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm sad to say, though, that Batman isn't my main character in the game. It's actually Wonder Woman.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not saying there's something wrong with Wonder Woman, but, you'd think me being Mr. DCAU Batman YouTube channel, I'd be all up in that Batman. But I tried to play as him, but his moveset doesn't really match my playstyle very much. Wonder Woman's a bit more aggressive and more to my style.
I have to be upfront about this. I love video games, and I'm not like a gamer full time, obviously, but I do have games that I play a lot. This type of game, I am terrible at.
Yes.
I'm absolutely terrible at it, to the point that I'll play like one round, and just in the middle of it, I'll just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because I'm one of those people that will stop watching a movie. For the most part, I'll go back to it eventually, but I'll just be like, nah. And that's what this game is to me. But it looks great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a fun game. You can pit, your DC characters: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Harley Quinn, Black Adam. He's in there as well, and fight against characters from Game of Thrones and Looney Tunes, and even Agent Smith from The Matrix. Jason Voorhees is the big first season pass character, or battle pass, excuse
Wait,
me.
let me get the thing for it. Jason Voorhees, it's...
Yes.
Okay, good.
That Jason Voorhees.
I wasn't doing the Mike Myers one that time.
No.
It's weird because I grew up with my aunt making us, well, not making us, but kind of making us watch those movies, and I always get it wrong.
So one last thought on Mark Hamill's Joker here, in that one of the things I really like about Mark Hamill when he plays the Joker, depending on the universe he's in, he will play the Joker slightly differently. He really plays up the kind of transatlantic accent with the DCAU Joker. Compare that with, say, the Arkham games Joker, where he's a bit grottier, a bit seedier. And this one, he's kind of got like a scratchy edge to his voice. And it's not just him getting older. I know you were going to say that. I know you were going to say that, but it's not that.
Do you think it's because of age?
That may play a part in it slightly, but he has said before that he tries to make each universe Joker distinct from the other.
Yeah.
And I think he does a good job.
He's amazing. It wouldn't surprise me if he knew from the get-go, from starting, each, Joker, that he was going to do that. Like, literally from the moment he was told, yeah, you're going to play the Joker again. He's going to be like, yeah.
Yeah, and his Justice League Action Joker is far more cartoony and expressive and more like a Looney Tunes character in a way than the other Jokers that he plays. So it's not just age.
Shall we get to the topic of the episode?
Yes, we shall. So today's topic, everyone already knows, I don't know why I'm being coy. We're going to talk about my favourite episode of Superman the Animated Series, or at least one of my favourite episodes. I haven't quite decided if it's definitely my favourite. And that is The Late Mr. Kent. And we're going to talk a little bit as well about the secret identity, Clark Kent versus Clark Kent, the actual person, versus Superman. Mary, you rewatched this episode today, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I've watched Superman. I love it, obviously, or I wouldn't be talking about it. But I always forget this episode, and I don't know why, because it's such an important episode, in my opinion. Do you want to do like the synopsis of it?
Well, let's assume that anyone listening to this has seen it. So, okay, I'll do a quick synopsis. So, Clark Kent discovers that a man on death row was wrongly convicted of the crime, and he has uncovered proof that this man is innocent. So on his way to the governor to avert the execution, his car explodes and he's launched into the ocean. Unfortunately, there are witnesses, so he can't fly out as Superman, so he has to pretend that Clark Kent has died, while at the same time try and figure out who really committed the crime and free the innocent man from prison.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good synopsis there.
Yeah, that's a kind of non-spoilery synopsis. I want to say, first of all, that this episode was written by Stan Berkowitz, he wrote loads of episodes on Superman the Animated Series, and he would write episodes of Justice League, and I think Justice League Unlimited as well. Fun fact, in the Suicide Squad game that was released earlier this year, Metropolis's airport is named after him. It's the Berkowitz Airport.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, well, I put a post out on social media, Mary. How did you miss
I'm
that?
your wife. Sometimes
Yeah.
I just...
You don't pay attention to me.
I look at cat videos.
But Stan Berkowitz he's described himself as an ardent union man, and I believe he lives in Canada. I could be mistaken. So what I'm trying to get at is that he is perhaps more liberal than the average American, and you can kind of tell in this episode.
We love liberals.
Well, yeah, I'm European. We're, as far as most Americans are concerned, we're hardcore communists because we believe in things like socialized healthcare and, having the support from the state.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
something that surprised me rewatching this episode, and I'm sure it happened the first time I watched it, is this is a WB kids show, correct?
Yes.
It's about a man getting executed.
Yes.
And it's, again, I say this so much, it's a kids show. And I honestly love that because it's, for the time it came out, and even now, but it was in the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 90. I want to say 95.
Yeah. Just Google news in 1995 that dealt with people of color getting wrongly convicted of crimes.
Yes, that's the important thing to mention. I've forgotten the name of the man who was wrongly convicted, but the key thing was that he was convicted because he had pawned the necklace that had belonged to the murder victim.
Yeah, it's Ernest Walker.
Ernest Walker, thank you. Yes, but he had found the necklace outside of his home. Now he's obviously a poor African American. And he's come across some jewelry and he's like, well, I'm going to pawn it. Now, okay, that was wrong.
Mm-hmm. And he admits that.
Yep. Does that mean he deserves to be executed? Absolutely not. No. So this episode is, I think it's pretty staunchly anti the death penalty because, I mean, I don't know what the stats are, but, you know, whenever you watch documentaries about people on death row, they always bring up these stats about how it's disproportionately African Americans, particularly African American males, that are sent to death row, and how many of them have had their convictions overturned. It's quite a high percentage, and you know, this episode is very much about that.
Yes, and it's about a detective. So that's Detective Kurt Bowman.
Yes, he's been in earlier episodes as well, Detective Bowman.
Yeah. Basically, he framed him.
Yes, yeah.
And
did they ever say why he had murdered that woman?
I don't remember.
No, I don't recall they ever said why he murdered her, but he basically made it look like a robbery. Mm-hmm. And he just picked a black guy to frame. Now, some people might think that that's very like lazy on the nose, like, oh yeah, of course the corrupt cop goes after a black guy.
It's not, because it's something that was important and still is important, and I'm sorry, but I think it's great that this was in a kids show, because kids, they see the news on the television when their parents or guardians are watching them. They see the news, they hear the news, they know what's going on. And this is a great way to help children and adults like myself. It's great to show them that this stuff really happens. And and the fact that there is a person that is trying to help the prisoner. Yeah. Because they know that this is wrong. Because Clark Kent could have been like, "Oh, no, I've got dinner tonight. I'm gonna go out with Lois tonight, whatever, because they wanted to go out to dinner. I'm gonna go do that instead of go to this pizza place to get the compact disc." But no, it just shows that even the person that wrote this, that he would probably do that. There are people out in this world that will do that, and it's great that this is in a kids show.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really good episode. The thing that sticks with me from the episode is at the end when Superman's uncovered. Mm-hmm. Well, not the very end, near the end. Mm-hmm. The ending sticks with me as well, and I'll get to that in a moment. Mm-hmm. But when Superman, he's found the guy that's responsible, he's apprehended him. Now the Mr. Walker is due to be executed any minute, so he just flies to the prison, smashes down the walls, rips the roof off, sucks all the gas out. And the audience that are there for this execution are outraged. Mm-hmm. They're like going, "How dare you!" But they are completely in the wrong. Yeah. And it's a great callback to like the earliest Superman comics, because Superman was a defender of the oppressed and the abused. Like, I think it was in his first appearance, he beat up an abusive husband that had been beating his wife. Early on, he tackled slum landlords that weren't looking after, like, maintaining the property and still raking in loads of money. He went after corrupt politicians. So it's kind of good to see those early stories being referenced, even if it is subtly. And the final of the episode, I love the ending so much.
Gets me.
And I learned recently that Alan Burnett had insisted on this final couple of lines of dialogue. So Bowman has been arrested. He is in prison, and he is facing execution, and he's put in the executioner's chair. And Bowman's sitting there like, I don't understand how Clark Kent survived this. I don't know how he figured it out. How did he catch me? Oh my God, Clark Kent, Superman. And then the gas goes off. And the implication is that he has been executed.
Yeah. I've taken a few notes here. It reminds me of film noir movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That part, because you have the person that has been caught, and then they're going to say something, and everybody's going to think that they're crazy because they've been caught. So that is great that Alan insisted on that, because who's going to believe this guy? Because Clark is the one that got you, really.
Yeah.
Really, it's Clark. But then Superman is the one that came in and beat you.
Yeah.
Right? So you're putting those two things together, and everybody else is going to see that too. And then that's what everybody else is going to think. And then, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't actually show if anyone was attending his execution, did they?
No.
I can't imagine there would be.
Oh, wait, yes, they did.
Oh,
They did the line, because I've always...
Was it just silhouettes, though?
No, it was the people, I
you could
believe.
actually see the people. I'm misremembering. Sorry, I've not watched it in a while.
When I watched it, I was always... The one thing I would probably say that I would be disappointed in this entire show would be that Ernest wasn't there.
Well, I think he probably wouldn't want to see it, frankly.
Yeah.
Because he seemed like a generally okay guy,
Yeah.
apart from the fact he'd pawned something he'd found. But,
Yeah, but back to the film noir thing.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Tim Daly, I bet you he had so much fun in the booth, like when he was doing that.
Yeah.
It was so great.
Yes, because he was narrating the episode.
Yeah.
A little bit like Sunset Boulevard. That's what came to my mind.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, and, obviously the episodes didn't usually have narration.
No.
I don't think any Batman episodes had narration. I guess The Man Who Killed Batman kind of did a little bit. You had Sid the Squid talking about...
Yeah, I wouldn't have really put that on the same level.
Yeah, not to the same extent, no, because the narration was happening, as well as in flashbacks, it was also happening in real time, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Like when when Superman was watching Clark Kent's funeral, he was narrating it.
He was mad at Lois for leaving. We're not mad, disappointed. But yeah, that's, for me, again, it goes back to some of my favorite types of films, which is film noir movies from, the 30s, 40s, 50s. But it also takes you back to the time when Superman started to become super popular. Because Superman was 1938, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think
1930, and then Batman was 39.
Yeah.
And then you have the 40s and 50s where comic books really started to, be manufactured to where that they can be in a lot of little boys and little girls' households.
Yeah, millions of homes, yeah.
So I would like to think that it kind of goes back to that a little bit. And I just can't imagine that Tim Daly didn't have a ton of fun doing this.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Tim Daly is the type of person that would love a film noir movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
100%. Yeah. And so can we just talk a little bit about Detective Bowman?
Oh, yeah.
So we said initially they don't really explain his motives for killing that woman. We had seen him previously in earlier episodes. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like... He's dressed like Columbo. He's got like that overcoat and the trousers and so on. But he's kind of really gruff.
Yeah.
And unpleasant. Now, compare him to, say, Dan Turpin. Dan Turpin is gruff and rough around the edges, but he's got a warmth to his voice.
Yeah.
That Bowman just does not have. And I really appreciate the fact that they put him in an episode prior to this. I think it was the Luminous episode. Not 100% certain now that I think about it, but it's nice to see a sense of continuity between the episodes. And he is just really deplorable. Like when Lois Lane confronts him, he throws her down a over the edge of like a
Yeah.
stairwell. Superman catches her, obviously. And he blows up Clark Kent's apartment as well, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. And he gets in a helicopter to try and beat Superman. And he clearly doesn't know Superman very well
He
because
clearly doesn't know how to drive a helicopter.
he's just like. I guess he's running for his life because he knows he's going to get caught and he's going to go to prison and he will be executed. And I can't imagine that police officers have a nice time in prison when they're sent there.
Oh, God, no.
But he's really foolish because when you think about like the publicity around Superman, like John Corbin piloting a massive super mech couldn't beat Superman, barely knocked him over. What does he think he's going to achieve with a helicopter? He's just a desperate, pathetic, weak man. Despite all his bluster and his aggression.
Most of them are.
Well, yes. Yeah, I suppose so.
Most of them are that act like that. Even in real life as well. Most of them are pathetic creatures that are trying to prove something that they've already destroyed.
Yes, and I think there's a certain kind of bastard that is attracted to the power that being a policeman entitles you to. So it's not to say that, oh yeah, all cops are bastards. I don't agree with that either.
No, I don't.
But there are some bastards that really want to be cops, and they shouldn't be. And, hopefully they get rooted out.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't, and it sucks that...
Like Bowman, he wasn't rooted out.
It sucks because you just want to go and like shake their shoulders and be like, dude, straighten up. You're in a job where you can do so much good. You can be the superhero in this situation.
Yeah.
But you're being the villain.
They could be Superman, but instead they choose to identify with the Punisher. Like, oh my God, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say that they identify as Bowman. But
well, it's the thing. You see all of these, it's mostly in the States where you see like policemen with the Punisher logo emblazoned on them. And you're just like, that's not really your role, my dude. You're supposed to be like Superman.
Didn't Marvel ask them not to do that?
Yes, Marvel asked them not to do it, and Marvel have changed the Punisher's logo now because they're so sick of it being associated with unpleasant people.
Yeah.
That don't get that the Punisher is the bad guy.
He is the bad guy.
Yes, he is. I like the Punisher as well. Don't get me wrong. I like him.
I like
but...
the character, the fictional character of the Punisher, but it is that. It's a fictional character that is a villain.
Yes.
The bad guy. Yeah. The guy that should be behind bars.
Yeah, he does get put behind bars a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really good. Ed Brubaker did some Daredevil comics where Daredevil was sent to prison. And the Punisher was there as well. And they did a nice Watchmen reference where I think the Punisher like poured some oil on a guy and beat them up. And he was like, you don't get it. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Which is a really nice callback to Rorschach in Watchmen.
So I'm going to talk about something.
Yeah, I know. We've just gone on a massive tangent. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
About the episode.
Yeah, please.
Oh, this is probably... You feel... like there's a little bit of Batman in this because Superman / Clark Kent becomes the detective.
Yeah.
It is, honestly, it brings, those tingles you get in the back of your neck. When I watch this, I'm like, oh my goodness, they would make such like good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, because the thing is, when it comes to the court of law, you have to be able to prove things. Mm-hmm. Your proof doesn't necessarily have to be rock solid, but it has to be convincing enough. So, for instance, Mr. Walker selling that necklace. Well, where did he get it from? Well, he got it from a corpse, obviously. That's a leap, but it's a convincing enough leap for a jury to convict him. Superman can't just go in there and pull the guy out and go, he's innocent, shut up. He has to prove it.
I would do that. I'd be like, yo!
He does do that a little bit at the end of the episode, but then he produces the proof.
Yeah.
He only does that out of a sense of urgency because the guy's going to die any second. In his ideal world, he would have been able to present the evidence to the governor and the execution would have been cancelled. So he has to act as the detective in this case. It's a different scenario for Superman because usually he solves his problems by like punching through things or throwing them into space. This time he has to kind of sit down and think about it and go, I need to go to check out this guy's alibi. And there was a very interesting line in the episode that stuck with me is that he provided Ernest Walker provided an alibi saying that he got takeaway pizza and he watched TV at home. And he said, and his public defender lawyer did not investigate this claim. Which is a very kind of common scenario where people that can't afford good lawyers get given like the basic level of defense. And frankly, these people are overworked, underpaid,
don't have enough time,
maybe even a little underqualified as well. And maybe they're so cynical that maybe they don't believe their clients, so they don't do their due diligence.
You've been watching too much Law & Order.
Maybe I have. Well, it's what you put on most nights. I have to listen to it when you fall asleep.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, but that's another like damning thing of the system. In an ideal world, everyone would get equal access to the best lawyers, or at least very good lawyers, but that's just not feasible. But I liked that point, and you can see Stan Berkowitz's political views coming through quite clearly if you just sit down and think about it.
And it's very on point to Superman.
Yeah,
this is one of the most Superman episodes of this show, in my humble opinion. Take a shot every time I say honestly or in my opinion. But it resembles like you said, the comics. But it's just really cool.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's a teaching moment. This is a teaching hospital, guys. We're going to teach here, and we're going to teach kids that speak up for people, even if they're speaking up for themselves, because you might be able to help them. You might be able to prove their innocence, and you might be able to help them. You might not be Superman that came from Krypton, but you can be that super person that helps somebody. And it only takes one person to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And that can change their lives. And for me, as an adult, to take that from this episode, that's strong. And if I ever have children, unlikely, I will have them watch this. And I will be like, you're going to give me a 10-page essay.
You will like Superman. You will like the things I like.
Because this is so important. And that's something that I love about the DCAU, is that the issues are issues that, they're hidden by like the aliens being characters and stuff like that, and superheroes. But a lot of the times it has come from real life. Because in the mid-90s, this was a huge topic that a lot of people, like myself, being very young, had never seen on television before because it wasn't talked about. And now, in the year 2024, we hear about it every day, multiple times a day, and it's getting ridiculous because there are so many innocent men and women that are behind bars, that are in the system for nothing. And we need to, if we can, help them.
Yeah. And it's crazy because you'd think that the use of police body cams would kind of deter this kind of thing from happening. Well, I saw something the other day that was like trending on social media where an African-American male had been pulled over by the police and they accused him of drinking. He said, I have not had a single drop. So they took him out of the car and they searched. And the policewoman had her body cam on. You can see she reaches over to the side of his car, the door on the other side, the passenger side, and takes out a bottle of, I think it was scotch or something like that, that was sealed. She opened it and she poured it around in the car and then brought it out and said, oh yeah, you've not been drinking? What's this? So you're on camera. You have just perjured yourself right there. It's just insane. It's insane that this stuff is happening in this day and age.
It really is. And it's heartbreaking because we, as millennials, a lot of us know that it's important to be inclusive and have, be very there for the diverse people. We need to be there for the LGBTQ+. We need to be there for people of color, and we need to be there for people with disabilities, even if they are invisible. But although we have been well educated on these matters, we're still not doing enough. And I think that's where I'm going to end off on this, because I thought it was going to be a jolly episode, because Superman to me is more jolly than Batman, obviously. But I think it's really important when we talk about these things to be honest and not to sugarcoat things.
So I have one final closing thought about this
that was
episode.
just mine. Sorry.
Yeah. So my final closing thought is that this episode tells us about the identity of Clark Kent. So I'm of the opinion that there are three sides to Clark Kent. There's Clark Kent, farm boy, who he actually is. Mm-hmm. There's Superman, which is who he presents himself as to the world when he's wearing his costume and using his powers. Mm-hmm. Then there's also Clark Kent that he presents to the world, the journalist Clark Kent. He's kind of a little sarcastic, quite playful, acts like he's kind of clueless, but really he's listening to everything that's going on and trying to use his access to breaking news to help determine the best place to go and use his powers.
Are we sure he doesn't have a personality disorder?
No, he's very guarded. And one of the things I really liked about this episode in particular is, okay, once he's uncovered Bowman's guilt and he needs to bring Clark Kent back, the best way to allay suspicion is to have himself be shacked up with Lana Lang.
Yeah, that was always a good one.
Because, Lois is outraged that he didn't come to her for help. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit jealous. Maybe a little bit. Little bit of jealousy. Pretty. Yeah. And that outrage and maybe that little bit of jealousy is enough to stop her from thinking about it too much. She goes, oh yeah, of course he went off to Lana. Of course he did, bloody men. And he's like, what? Lana's my friend. Mm-hmm. He knows exactly what he's done there.
Oh, yes, he does.
But I've previously said that, Clark Kent is a disguise, and people get mad and go, Clark Kent's who he really is. Well, Clark Kent, the journalist, is a disguise. He's wearing bloody glasses, for God's sake.
Do you know who Superman really is? The person he is when he is with Mama and Daddy Kent.
Yeah, Mom and Pa.
Yeah, that is who Superman really is. That's the real Clark.
Yes.
Because he can be very just open and he doesn't have to hide anything, and he can tell them, like, oh, hey, I'm just going to go off with bats. He's
also who he is when he's around the Justice League, because he doesn't have to pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah.
When he's part of the Justice League, he can be himself around them because they are his peers. He feels comfortable around them.
And Martian Manhunter would not let him be anything else.
Yeah, but I think when he is out in the public as Superman, he puts on a very friendly face and is very cheerful and very kind and positive because he's worried that people will be afraid of him because of what he can do.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I'm this big smiling friendly guy in this brightly coloured suit with a big cape. Hey, I'm great. I'm not a threat to you. No one needs to panic. Everything's fine. But regardless of him doing that, people are still afraid of him. Mm-hmm. People do still worry about what he can do. Not just like people like Lex Luthor, but you have the military. Eventually, you have Professor Hamilton and all of Cadmus and all of that stuff in Justice League. So I think that's very interesting, and this is a great example of that. And I need to do a video one day about Clark Kent. Yeah. Maybe I will do that in the near future. Maybe not. All
right, let's go on to happier things, hopefully, and go to the comments.
And first of all, we have the Phantasm.
Oh, hello.
The Phantasm says, aside from the Batman-Superman movie, which I can never bring myself to watching individually as episodes, believe me, I've tried, it's too burnt into my brain as one thing. The late Mr. Kent is my favourite episode of STAS, and in my personal top 10 of the DCAU as a whole. I would have wished that Detective Bowman had maybe been introduced a couple of episodes earlier, but even that is really minor. Not much else to say, really, so now I would like to ask you this. As both of you know, some of the biggest strengths of the DCAU shows was how they created original concepts or reimagined stories from the comics, but quite often they would also faithfully adapt stories as well. My question for you is, what do you think is the best adaptation from a story from the comics in the DCAU? I'm excluding Mad Love, seeing as that was a story created for the DCAU to begin with. For me, I would have to say it's For the Man Who Has Everything, another of my top 10 DCAU episodes from Justice League Unlimited, based on the seminal story of the same name. I just can't help but feel moved every time I watch it. I mean, if Alan Moore, of all people, who famously almost never wants to be credited when his work gets adapted, liked the episode so much he agreed to be credited, then you know it's great. I guess I maybe would have liked to have seen Tim Drake in the place of Jason Todd that he had in the book, but considering that Robin was in Teen Titans at the time, they probably wouldn't have allowed that, despite the fact it wasn't even the same Robin, both in terms of identity and continuity. But try explaining that to Warner Brothers execs, right? I would probably agree with you. For the Man Who Has Everything is probably the best one. Off the top of my head, so I mean, some other adaptations they did. They did the Demon's Quest. In Batman,
hold on.
the animated
You're
series.
not going to talk about? Didn't they have a comic with Scooby-Doo in it as well, or was that the movie?
There are lots of them, and I'm never talking about them.
I hate Scooby-Doo.
I saw a panel from one of those comics recently that had BTAS Kurt Langstrom in it, and he's the monster. And I was like, oh, damn, I actually kind of want to read that. No, I won't. It's Scooby-Doo. I hate Scooby-Doo. Yeah, that's the thing. They're like, gee, Dr. Langstrom, I hope that Man-Bat monster doesn't turn up anywhere, and he's behind them turning into the Man-Bat. But yeah, I think I would agree with you. Demon's Quest is fine. It's kind of a loose adaptation. Most of the adaptation episodes in BTAS were loose adaptations, apart from A Bullet for Bullock. A Bullet for Bullock was almost, a shot-for-shot, page-for-page remake. And that one's really good as well. I love the jazzy score in A Bullet for Bullock.
I could listen to that in the background all day.
It makes me so mad that they haven't released a soundtrack for The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Okay, let's go to the next comment.
Oh, I should answer that.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I don't read the comics very much. Before you said Mad Love, I'm probably going to say that one. I don't really know because I don't read the comics. I occasionally read panels that I see online. I really need to this summer because I can read them on my Kindle when I'm outside basking in the sun we'll have for 35 minutes in the UK and read some of them.
So, new commenter, welcome, Funkatronic Geek. How are you doing?
Name.
Tala in the comics is a demon sorceress who is the leader of the Dark Circle and an enemy of the Phantom Stranger. I don't know if her DCAU counterpart shares the same origin. Wouldn't surprise me if she did, because they don't really go into her very much other than her need to have someone to have a relationship with. She bounces between Faust and Gorilla Grodd and Lex Luthor. But yeah.
This is just can there just be one woman on here? No, that's Lois. Lois doesn't need no man. She don't need no man. She wants a man, but she don't need one.
She don't have to.
Yeah, it's her choice.
She can take it or leave it.
Yeah. You go, girl. Or actually, you go, woman, because I don't like being called a girl. You could cut that.
All right, next comment. We have Screen Wiper. Hey, Screen Wiper, how you doing?
Screen Wiper!
I'm a musician, and I'd offer to make a jingle or theme tune for you were I not between recording studios at present. I really need a day off with no more sick chickens to get my studio sorted because I miss making music. If you want an example of my work, my latest project is the Welsh language black-ended metal band. I can't say this because my Welsh is terrible. I'm going to say Plador Gisgog, which you can hear on Bandcamp and SoundCloud. I'd linked, but YouTube hates links unless you're a spam bot. We'll check that out. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, and we are still sending good vibes, good love, and good days to the check-ins.
If I can find the link, I'll include a link in the info box for everyone else.
Hell yeah. I'm going to check it out. You best believe that. I don't know why my grandpa came out at me then. Like, you best believe that. He was a bit more southern, wasn't he?
He was, yes. Okay, so next comment. Play content. Hey, dude, how you doing?
Hey, you.
This is a long one. I'm so sorry, but apparently not sorry enough to just shorten.
Never be sorry.
I really thought the person you were referring to as being allowed to grow the back and sides of their hair while being bald on top would have been Bill Bailey.
Oh, Bill Bailey, yeah.
Or Rubber from Quest for Camelot, but he believes he's allowed to usurp an entire magical kingdom, so I doubt he requires anyone's approval. I mean, Rubber, not Bill Bailey. Bill Bailey doesn't need anyone's approval either.
No, he's cool.
He has famously referred to his mane of hair as being a wild animal that he has tamed to sit on his head. But anyway, next part of the comment is, I'm a huge Zatanna fan, so if I ever spoke on this topic and didn't include her, that'd be like making that drink known as egg cream, but not including egg or cream. I just looked up the recipe. It contains neither egg or cream. Bad
I've never
analogy.
heard of that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Is it like eggnog?
I would assume so.
Hmm.
Without Thoth Capera's title, I think female Egyptian rulers were still sometimes known as pharaohs. I know Cleopatra was, according to a CBBC horrible history song. At least it's possible some of the facts are incorrect, I suppose, but if I ever found that to be the case, I'd refuse to acknowledge it for my own sanity. The problematic Flash Tala element of the Great Brain Robbery is why it doesn't officially make my top 10 unlimited episodes. I've eased my mind by assuming Tala already secretly guessed from his uncharacteristic behaviour that it wasn't really Lex. Also, her powers are fairly vague sometimes, so I'll gladly believe she has the insanely specific ability to deduce when bald supervillains she's involved with have experienced a Freaky Friday body swap. Maybe this was explained in the now lost deleted scene. Mary, with the arrival of Totally Schway Flipside, there could be a chance for you both to discuss Panic's first album at length. Maybe best not to if you continue this tradition of reading comments. You'd need to devote the next 6-hour-long episodes to reading out the ones I'd leave.
How about this? Because Luke's not going to talk about Panic at the Disco because he doesn't know so much about Panic at the Disco. I could do an episode, or I could do like just a video on my channel about it because I do love Panic at the Disco, and that album really, it was great, and it came at the perfect time for me in my life. Not that I was like an angsty teen or anything. It's just I really loved the poetry behind it. Yeah.
Well, you should do that. I encourage you. Next comment, David Carney. Hello, David. How are you doing?
Hi, David.
Really like Etrigan the Demon, one of the most underused characters by DC. Last thing I read with Etrigan in was James Tynion IV's Justice League Dark Run, which I love so much. Regarding Clarion the Witch Boy, I wasn't really a fan of the character. Excellent podcast as usual. Have a good week, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't like Clarion. It's just, whenever I think of him, I think of that, I want cake, and I just want to slap him.
I want cake, but I need to lose weight. I'll get a lot of cake next week, though.
Yeah. Next comment from Lowell Lucas Jr. Well, there's one you predicted, Mary. Well done.
Yes! Hello, Lowell Lucas Jr.
I love Tala right down to the Natasha accent. I don't mind if she's been with Felix, a genius gorilla, a bald psycho, or even the friggin' Flash. So for Tala's fate, she did die, but cursed Luthor by bringing Darkseid's constituted collective than Brainiacs. Think of it as a final FU to Lex before her death. That's an interesting take. I didn't actually ever assume that Tala had chosen to bring back Darkseid instead of Brainiac. I just assumed that Darkseid was the more dominant personality and he kind of forced his way through. But that's an interesting thing I'd never really thought of, so thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I like Lowell Lucas Jr.'s take on it. Because she knew who she was bringing back, and she knew why. We love women. Powerful women. Like you said, even though they choose very toxic partners.
Next we have David BTAS. I'm going to start saving... If I say David Beatass, that sounds a bit weird, doesn't it?
No, David Beat. That's how you're saying beat ass.
Yeah, so that's why I say David BTAS. But anyway, your debut episode of Totally Schway Flipside was great and a joy to listen to.
Oh, thanks.
You set a positive example for all YouTubers by calling out haters who leave disgusting comments. I'm looking forward to see how Golden Age Clayface plays out in Batman Cape Crusader. Now, as far magical characters, mine is Constantine. Constantine gets the job done and does it even if it means the action taken by Constantine to do the job falls in the morally grey area. What are your thoughts on Constantine? Personally, I don't really care for him very much. I don't really know why. It's just not really a character I've ever really taken to.
I think Constantine is very interesting.
Stop stealing my word.
Shush. I think he's very interesting, but not really my favorite, obviously. But I think they could do so much more in terms of like if they had given him his own animated show, they could have probably changed that for me.
Well, he was quite prominent in the animated movies from about, I want to say about 5 years ago-ish. He was in lots of them, and he is one of the few... Oh, this is spoiler territory. Oh, I don't know if I should say it.
Don't you say it.
I'm not going to say it. I'm going to just say that if you like the live-action Constantine, well, it's the same actor whose name escapes me at the moment.
Keanu Reeves?
No, not Keanu Reeves, the television one.
Oh, okay. I was like...
It's Matt something, I think. But he has been making other appearances in more recent movies as well. But that's a topic for another time, I think. Next comment we have Defuxa Plays.
Hello, Defuxa.
I wonder if by the time Serum Lake reads this comment, will he have noticed that there are 2 episode 22s for Totally Schway? Also wondering if the next episode will be 23. Yeah, thank you for pointing out my typo. I fixed it as soon as you pointed it out. So that episode was 23. This episode is 24.
I blame him.
Yeah, I know. It's because I was rushing through it to get it done in time.
All I do is he'll ask me, like, what episode is this? And he'll say a number, and I'll be like, yeah, huh? Yeah. Because I'm usually on this side of the desk doing something else. Probably looking at, like, handbags or garden furniture when I don't have a garden.
Okay. Next comment is from Michael Andre Parlon, Big Mikey P, who says, this vid is timely. Just finished the last 3 Ojomanjo Doremi Season 1 episodes as a rewatch breather, one of which showed the flaws of the forbidden magic of healing. Regardless, a DCAU cameo in another multiversal crisis storyline doesn't make me want to watch the DCAMU, and the Tomorrowverse is an extended part of the DCAU saga. Kind of like how, even if I'm a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003 and its crossover movie finale Turtles Forever, it won't force me into watching the live-action movies set in another universe. One thing I can say about Mary's Flipside podcast will be one good, if very long, substitute for Serum Lake's now finished for now series of B-Test storyboard vids. Yeah, I know, I've run out of storyboards and I can't find any more, and I'm trying to get more, but no one will share them with me. I'm not bitter about it or anything.
Have you asked?
I have.
Okay. Nice.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I'm always nice.
I know.
It's just, people are busy. They don't necessarily have digital copies of them. Mm-hmm. And some of the people I've tried speaking to don't know who I am. And, I'm not saying that in like a, don't you know who I am? But they don't know me from anyone. Why would they share their work with me? Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they think I might try and flog it on eBay like some of these people have been doing. But anyway, that's an entirely separate matter. Okay, so continuing Michael's comment. In my eyes, purple is one heck of a notable female mage's colour in fiction, even if it's not their magic that has it. There's the hair, their eyes, their clothes, their favourite colour, and so on.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because it's royal.
I don't know if royalty is necessarily
and
magical.
Ladies, we're all royalty. I wish I felt that way, really. Like, I wish I was this confident, not on this podcast.
Oh yes, magical reproduction, the most likely way good folk like Liz Nokeda and Amity Blight, plus Nanoa Takamachi and Fate Testarossa can beget their own biological children. It's a topic that has fascinated me, and it beats donored IVFs. Those do not seem right. Michael, sometimes I think you put in all of these names to test my ability to pronounce words.
I was thinking that.
Continuing the comment, I still prefer Robert Englund as the Batman's 2004 Riddler. Still a very good chap despite his insatiable villain roles. What with so many fan meetings with the guy just being quite positive. Same goes for Peter Cushing later on. Him wearing cute slippers while acting as the infamous Grand Moff Tarkin is always a cherished historical Star Wars fact. Peter Cushing lived in the same town as me. I remember when he died when I was a child. I had nothing to do with it, I swear. They closed the whole town down for the funeral procession, and Christopher Lee was walking up the front. I didn't attend because, the whole town was closed down. It was a nightmare. But my mother said he was always very polite when she came across him in town. Like, he would hold the door open for her at the post office or whatever and comment on what beautiful children she had. I don't think he was referring to me. But yes, anyway, that aside. Continuing, at least Felix Faust wasn't acquired by a neo-Nazi paranormal division. seen too many of Wolfenstein to know how that goes. On a side note, what do you guys think about men having quite perfectly hime cuts? The Twilight Sparkle, Miyo Akiyama, Homura Akemi, Kanuka Clancy hairstyle, for clarification. I have no idea what that is.
I don't mind, but I am the type of person that I don't really notice somebody's hair at first or their skin. Like if Luke had like really glittery skin, oh hell yeah, that would be awesome. But it's not the first thing I notice. I actually notice eyes and teeth first after personality. But hair's kind of like the last thing.
Thoth Capera may seem trivial, but a horrifying encounter with Batman does foreshadow the very high non-muggle stakes the Vigilante will encounter over the years, so she gets a pass from me. I really don't understand all this bring back the stuff these foreign museums stole nonsense. Believe me, bringing back certain artifacts from Europe to, say, Egypt would make them extremely more vulnerable to nearby spiteful terror groups due to local flaws like weak security there. While I do not want the Smithsonian to bring back certain relics to an increasingly unhinged China or an irredeemably rogue Russia, claiming back a rightful heritage is one thing, but safe preservation away from prejudicial harm is another more worthwhile thing for me.
What I think we should do is rent it from the country of origin.
So give them some money.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's
And if
fair.
they want it back, they can have it back. But
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's their belongings, and
Yeah.
it was taken.
But if they want it for safekeeping, then we should rent it out. We should, do the right thing. But then, no, I just think they should give it back. Because I was going to say, oh, we could just, lease it or whatever. But no, it should be back. I'm sorry, I disagree. I feel bad for disagreeing.
Begrudgingly, Gorilla Grodd is a bit of a facial looker. His voice isn't the stereotypically expected rough kind that stuff like Injustice 2 seems to use. Well, it takes all sorts, Big Mikey P. We all like different things.
Huh?
He said Gorilla Grodd was a facial looker. He's saying Gorilla Grodd's handsome.
What?
I mean, handsome for a gorilla, I guess. I don't know.
We're talking about the Gorilla Grodd from the animated show.
Yeah.
I guess for a cartoon.
If I became a witch/magical girl, I do not want to be a Tala. Would rather be a mix between Kyoko Sakura, would want to get that terrifying presence, the chain spear, and her magic, even if I do get an oral fixation on Pocky Sticks. Femme, stoic sweets lover, and complainant, almost like me, and though not a true mage, Yomiko Redman, bookworm, klutz, secret agent, enough said. Listen, if anyone else knows who half of these characters
No,
are...
I was just about to say something. The first one that he mentioned, I actually have been seeing photos on my Pinterest of them. Hell yeah! I agree. The other ones I'm not sure of, but whenever you do mention stuff like I've said in the past, I do look them up, which is probably why she was on my Pinterest, because of some of the other stuff was similar enough. Like when I look up DC stuff, I get I actually did get the Condiment King at one point because I looked up DC villains and DC like screwballs, I think I put in. But yeah, I did. I knew one of those characters.
Well, maybe I'm just a troglodyte then, because I've got no idea who half of this stuff is. But anyway, we do not want to bring up Wonder Woman 84 either. We expected a greater, darker sequel for Wonder Woman 2017, akin to The Dark Knight and Captain America, The First Avenger, but no. At 30 minutes and 8 seconds, depending how the story goes, it could be a Clanad or a Days of Future Past. That's the thing about Clarion. You hate him because you love to do so. His sole DCAU appearance plus Young Justice nailed that aspect, in my opinion. What do you think of Etrigan in the DCAU tie-in comics, Luke? You know the Justice League Apocryphals and the Batman Beyond ones. I think they're mostly fine. I think the best one was the Batman Adventures Annual, drawn by Glenn Murakami and Bruce Timm, with Ra's al Ghul summoning a demon of his own in Gotham. I thought that one was really well done. I don't mind Dr. Fate much when it came to utilising Solomon Grundy as a living weapon, as at least his actions are still benevolent, if a bit too covert even for Justice League assistants, and it did end with Grundy being given mercy in the end until some clumsy kids brought him back in Justice League Unlimited, but that isn't Fate's fault either. And besides, he and his Defenders group did more than Doctor Strange in Marvel's Earth 92131. That continuity squandered its Justice League Unlimited team-up crossover potential, and I hope X-Men 97 and rumoured follow-ups like a Spider-Man the Animated Series series change that for good. Yes, the S-Task episode introducing him is The Hand of Fate, which is possibly Season 2, Episode 19. Regarding indifference, you should see Ra's al Ghul not even ever thinking of exposing Bruce Wayne's identity as Batman, and there's Mr. Mxyzptlk not being a multiversal conqueror. Looks at recent events in My Adventures with Superman-verse, at most. Hero groups getting into a tussle because of bad communication and some concealed antipathy isn't out of the norm for me. Heck, one of my top 3 expectations for X-Men's 97 Season 1 finale is a fallout of whatever negative events that would result in the reformation of the Avengers as an anti-X-Men superhero task force. Would be quite mesmerising if Spider-Man, a noted ally of theirs in that guy's animated series, would join the Avengers out of necessity. And then there's Ms./Captain Marvel, who is a victim of Rogue's powers and wayward past. There's just something about superhero civil wars and benevolent covert operations going rogue, like what happened to S.H.I.E.L.D. in Captain America the Winter Soldier, and galactic Terran intelligence in Free Space Silent Threat Reborn, that fascinates me lots, as seen in me loving works like Kingdom Come, The Dark Knight Returns, the original Squadron Supreme miniseries, plus brief arguments like Homura versus Mami Tome in Puella Magi Madoka Magica Rebellion. And let's not forget that the tussles did give us the interestingly freaked out Hawkgirl and those Thanagarian symbols. That really stayed on me. 49 minutes and 8 seconds. Doesn't do rhymes much in the DCAU Etrigan. At 52 minutes and 11 seconds, Soups was gone tiresomely long in some doomed future world. Of course, he'd be venting his frustrations to Lobo. 54 minutes and 14 seconds. My spot. Hey, Mary did the name right. Well, that's good. At least somebody did.
Oh, yeah. I did something right.
Yeah.
Whoop.
55 minutes and 40 seconds. Already refinished that and The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm currently reading War of the Worlds and waiting for a cousin of mine to bring back my personal copy of Little Women, since I'm planning to make a binge read of it, Little Men and Joe's Boys. Oja Majo, not Oja Manjo. Okay. Tomato, as far as I'm concerned. It's all Japanese to me. In short, my favourite fictions lean on almost jingoistic, internationally intervening advanced military fiction, sequels to lightly toned family entertainment becoming increasingly darker, and a whole lot of references to stuff I know and love. Plus, you may want to look up topics at hand for proper context. There's a period after the One Piece bit. Should have separated this into 2 places instead, not as a single whole, so sorry. More correcting of how I say something. Ha ba ne ren mei. Teng en and la gan, roughly speaking. Mary, your British niece, would make a fine guest for this podcast, if not an occasional commentary pal for me and others. At least the Penguin books are seemingly easy to get. Anyway, what are the titles of those books? What Penguin books were you referring to?
I can't remember, but
you bought 1984, didn't you?
Yeah, I've got War of the Worlds. There are a few that I have on my wish list that aren't available at the moment. I'm not sure if they're going to be available again. Hopefully they will be. So many of them. Oh, there's A Christmas Carol. That's one of the most beautiful ones. And I bought a Breakfast at Tiffany's one, but that's not a Penguin cloth-bound book. That's shoot, I can't remember the publisher of that one, but that one's really nice.
So just to finish off the comment then, do we even need Teen Titans on claymation / puppetry? The Go cartoon doesn't need more junk ideas. How dare you? Do not slander Teen Titans Go. I love it. It's excellent.
You better not. You better not.
Herds.
I love Teen Titans Go.
Herdskrin's Chicken Betty had recovered, according to another Serum Lake video. Well, I'm just going to plan on recontinuing a slow but sure DCAU binge this month from May to possibly July. The Crisis on 2-Earth movie to epilogue needs to be finished. We'll await the next podcast.
And we will await your next comments. Because they are some of my favorite.
Okay, next we have RDP16 rules. Hello, Luke and Mary. I got first billing again. What's going on?
Hey!
First of all, congrats again on the new podcast. The first seems like it was a
Thank
hit. Next, let's address the turtles of the last podcast. As far as I'm aware, there is not a dedicated turtles podcast in the vein of Totally Schway. Maybe there is and I don't know about it. I'm open to finding one if anyone has suggestions, though. Honestly, though, I had a lot of Turtles figures, too many to list in a DC Discussions podcast. Let's put it this way, I went to a retro toy shop in my hometown and saw a lot of the figures that I had on their shelves. So many, in fact, that I found myself looking at the ones I didn't have back then more than the ones I did. Lol. Anyway, back to the magical characters of the DCAU. I love Etrigan. It's interesting to note that for a character with a tragic backstory, the show made an effort to make him fun. My favourite aspect is the rhyming scheme that he is cursed to uphold, but when push came to shove, he was by far one of the strongest characters in the series. I also really like Zatanna. Her design is cute and sexy, her powers are fun and dangerous, and she has an interesting dynamic with each member of the Justice League she interacts with. From having a past romance with Batman, underrated love interest too, to being the peacemaker for the female leaguers, she really could fit in on any team. Not to mention that outside of the DCAU, her teams of Justice League Dark might just be the main live-action movie people wish was made. Justice League Dark, made by Guillermo del Toro, is a missed opportunity for sure. I agree. And now for some hashtag Totally Schway podcast questions. Number 1. There have been many Build-A-Figure characters over the years. Who do you think deserves to be the next one? I would like to see Gold Body Amazo or Injustice 2 Brainiac. Well, I know the next Build-A-Figure in the McFarlane BTAS figures is Bruce Wayne in his in his brown suit. That one is a long requested figure. I would like to see someone like Rupert Thorne or possibly the Clock King. Mary, do you have any preferences?
Let's see. Everyone that I'm thinking of. Like I keep saying Bud and Lou, but they've got Bud and Lou.
Yeah.
What?
New Batman Adventures, Clayface and Annie.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Or Alfred. No, Alfred's got his own,
Yeah,
doesn't
Alfred's
he?
got his own, yeah.
Lucius?
Lucius Fox, maybe, yeah.
Lucius would be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just, you know what? I know this is like kind of out there and boring, but what about just like one of the just run-of-the-mill cops?
Officer Wilkins or Wilkes or whatever his name was. The redhead guy that looked a bit like Archie.
Just one of the random ones.
Perfection.
Yeah. It would be like the most collectible, like
Officer Wilkes with trembling eyes head.
That would be a good plan.
Next question. DC really went all in on vampires. What other concepts should DC focus on next if they don't go back to basics or reboot again? I want to see a dedicated Elseworld set on Bizarro World. 5 or 6 issues would be enough. Or maybe a return to the Flashpoint universe.
I love vampires. Just putting that out there. I like... I don't know if I'm going to lose people with this.
Go on.
One of my favorite movies of all time, this isn't what I'm going to lose them on, is An Interview with the Vampire. But I also like Twilight. I said it. I like Twilight. I do. I don't know why I feel embarrassed when I say that, but I like Twilight. Yeah, well, I don't know what to say now because I'm embarrassed.
No, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You like what you like, and that's fine. I don't really know. I'm not a massive fan of those like gimmick comics, like when they did Deceased, where it was just like zombie versions of all of the DC characters, and DC versus vampires didn't really have much.
Do you have
interest
that
in that
on the Kindle?
No. Well, it's on
is it-
DC Infinite, the app,
Yeah,
DC
okay.
Universe Infinite, or whatever it's called.
I'd like to read that.
Okay, well, you can read that if you like.
I love zombies.
Maybe we could revisit the world of the pirate Batman.
Oh no, I don't like pirates. I hate them.
All right, fine. We'll stick with the vampires. Let's go to the Vampire Batman universe again. Drawn by Kelly Jones. There we go. That's my pick. More Kelly Jones, please.
Yeah.
So just to finish off, RDP16 Rules' comment. Thanks again for all you two do. Have a wonderful week. You too.
No, thank you for all that you do, because you guys have helped take me out of a funk that I was in last year. And yeah, I said a lot about how much I appreciate you guys. And I don't know what podcast it's in now, but I really do appreciate you guys. Even if you just like watch the podcast. I really appreciate it because it just means somebody else doesn't. Well, hopefully you guys don't think I'm weird, but it means somebody else is interested in the same things.
Yeah. Next comment is someone new, or at least I don't recognise the name, and I apologise if you've commented before, but it is...
James Stoner, 3,900.
Yeah, James Stoner. Hey, how are you doing?
What's up?
Thanks for coming by. So, he says, please do the top 7 scariest moments from Batman Beyond.
Ooh, I'm writing that down.
Yeah, so James has his picks, which I promise I won't steal. Number 7, the twist with Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul in Out of the Past. Number 6, the ending of Rebirth, the music of Terry coming back to Bruce, who is watching him coming up on Wayne Manor, thus thundering and lightning. Number 5, Derek Powers becomes Blight. 4, the fate of Ian Peake at the end of Sneak Peek. 3, what happens to Aaron becoming a freakish version of Ink. Number 2, Dr. Abel Cuvier's unstable transformation. Number 1, Earth Mover. Yeah. I mean, Earth Mover is going to be high on my list. I recently saw that Dan Reber had done a custom Batman Beyond cover for Ted Kendrick from Watchtower Database of the Earth Mover.
Saw that.
And it is a wonderful drawing, and I am insanely jealous. When I've finally got some money, I do need to try and get a commission from Dan. But the thing is, there's so many that I could go for, and I just can't pick.
So put it in a fishbowl, like all of the suggestions you have. Pick one, pick 2, and then use a coin.
But I also want to get commissions from Brad Rader and Kevin Altieri, because they've all got very distinct art styles, and they're all wonderful, and I just need some of their original stuff. Anyway, that's for the future. So next we have Zemox. Hello, Zemox. Nice to have you back again.
What's up, mine?
Dr. Fate was one of my favourite characters from Justice League. I love the fact that he has his own team, which is obviously based on the Defenders. The comic version, not the MCU version. Yeah, so it's not like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. I can't wait to see more Superman content on this channel. Superman the Animated Series is criminally underappreciated and deserves more recognition.
Truth.
I know you focus on DCAU shows, but have you thought about making a video about the Marvel cartoons like X-Men the Animated Series or Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes? So it's funny, the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I believe Eric Radomski was the lead producer on that show, and obviously he had a very big impact on the look of Batman the Animated Series. Although I haven't watched that much of it. I think it's all on Disney Plus, so I could watch it. No reason why I couldn't. Short answer is never say never, but no plans in the immediate future. Although we will talk about stuff on Mary's channel, like X-Men. Mostly X-Men 97, though.
Yeah, that's not going to be the whole podcast.
No. Although it is going to be the theme for a while.
Yeah.
But we'll find other things to talk about. Maybe we could do a couple of episodes about X-Men, then jump to something else.
Yeah,
and come
that's
back
what
to
I was
X-Men
thinking.
later.
Because we could just make a playlist on the channel, and then we could just come back to it anytime we want.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you for your comments. I am going to steal James Stoner's comment eventually. And don't forget to check out my channel. It's Mary Susan Mears. Luke will have it linked below. I'm really excited because we're going to talk about X-Men some more and some other interesting stuff.
I guess what's left to do now, Mary, is talk about what we're going to discuss next time.
Okay.
So I've been doing a bunch of videos about Robin. None of them have gone live at the time of this recording, and I think some people are going to be very unhappy with what I say. And I think that's okay. We can all like different things, and it's not a problem. Just because I don't really care for something doesn't mean it's worthless. And I don't think there's anything anyone can say that could make me think otherwise. Similarly, I don't expect people that love Robin to feel differently after watching one of my videos. But it's good to have a conversation. So why don't we talk about some of the positive things about Robin in the next episode? All
right. Thank you guys so much. And we will talk to you next time.